Hey everybody, it's Always Bookin Comedy. It's Monday night. I get Katherine Rogue from Virginia. Very excited to talk to her. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful evening here, and I'm excited to be here with you.
Amazing. I'm excited. I'm actually going to be there in like less than a week. I was looking at driving logistics today, and not looking forward to some of the drives. The drive to your show is going to be pretty easy, but
Yeah. Where
like
are you coming from?
from Denver, Colorado. I'm driving all the way.
Well, I mean, right before you get to
Right,
me,
right
where we're.
before you, Chattanooga,
Oh,
which I
yeah,
think
it'll be lovely.
3 to 5 hours, something like that. Very easy. I have some like 14-hour drive days, which are brutal. But the only one that, well, I have two, but one of them I get to break up into 2 days, which shouldn't be too bad. But anyways, let's talk about running comedy shows. It sounds
Okay.
like you've been doing that for a while now and are pretty successful at it. Uh,
Well, I try my
maybe.
best. Yeah, we have a really small scene here. Um, and I've just been trying to keep it going. So I started running shows at bars around the area, and then I finally was able to get this auditorium at McLean's, and I run about one show a month, which is
Okay.
about what our town can handle.
Yeah.
And I've got some about 40 people who come to every show, and then depending on who's there and who is in town and who hears about what, we can fill up to about 110. So we'll see what happens this month.
Nice. I'm excited about it. Sorry, I'm digging around for a charger because my laptop's about to die. But I apologize to you and all the viewers. So tell us about how do you get into this auditorium?
I asked 1,000 times. I asked so many times. I asked so many times that management had changed between me starting asking and me continuing to ask and finally getting a yes answer. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, and it's a small town, so some people started to see, some people who were in charge of this room had seen me run some shows in other places. So they were like,
That's
oh, this is actually quality. She shows up on time. It'll be all right. So,
that's so
yeah.
great. I think that, I mean, that's happened to me as well with venues, and I think anybody looking to run shows can learn from that. The venue says no. It doesn't hurt to go to maybe a less prestigious venue or something,
Hmm.
improve yourself. And they kind of, they don't know you from anything. But if you've
Right.
been around for a couple of years and you've been doing well, they're more likely to say yes at some point when you have a track record.
Well, and I asked why they said no. Different venues, not just this venue, but asking why they said no is interesting too.
Yeah.
Um,
What are
some
some of the
places have
reasons
had
you've
trouble in the
received?
past with like bad language or the content being not working with the venue. And
Mhm.
yeah, I try to travel around and go to open mics and go to comedy festivals and contests around the area so I can meet a lot of new comics. And I have this spreadsheet where I've got all the comics that I know and little bits about them, whether they're clean or not, what's special about them, what their content is, so I can put them together in a show that makes sense.
Huh.
Um,
Well, you're like a professional curator of comedy shows. That's
I
terrific.
Yeah, sure. I try my best. I want everybody who comes in the door to have a good time, including the comedians.
Yeah.
And if I can give people what they expect, then they have a better time. They feel
Right.
comfortable.
Yeah. What are some things that I'm sure you seem pretty organized and pretty like you care about doing a good job.
I
What are
do
some
care.
things
I'm barely organized. I'm as best organized as I can be. But what's your
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, sure. So my question is, over time, what have you learned that you've improved on? Like maybe, I don't know, well, I don't think I even need to give you an example. I'm sure like right off the top of your head, you can think of some things uh that you've discovered are better for comedy shows now that you've been doing it a while that you didn't know right in the beginning.
Well, really communicating with the comedians and knowing what everybody's expectations are. If there's time limits, how I'm going to give the light. Uh, even just simple things about like this particular venue. One of the things I'll tell you is you will be able to hear the bowling alley, but the audience doesn't. So letting the comedian know, like, you can't play with that idea because the
Yeah,
audience
sure.
won't know what you're talking about. And
Right.
just giving little hints and clues like that. If the comedians haven't met each other, give a little bit of background on what kind of content they usually work with so they can kind of play off of each other and
Sure.
really just create. I used to be very uptight. I probably still am, but trying to create a fun environment for both the comedians backstage and also for the audience member. Like just
I think that's
getting
very
that, like,
interesting. I would give myself that same feedback. I think if you talk to some of the headliners I worked with my first year of running bigger shows, they would say, "Yeah,
mm,
that Mark's crazy. He's he's I definitely work with him again, but he's wound up." And it took me a while to realize that these people have been doing this 15, 20 years. They know what they're doing. They don't need to be babysat exactly. But at the same time, I've also kind of learned the opposite lesson occasionally, that somebody doing it 15 to 20 years does need a little bit of babysitting sometimes. You got to feel them out a little bit. You know,
yeah,
some people you can trust to like stick to time, for example. And
yeah,
what I've done actually is like I got so annoyed with the light being imprecise. You know, for anybody who's listening to this and doesn't know, a lot of times the show producer at the back of the room or the host will wave a light indicating, you know, there's 5 minutes to go or there's 1 minute to go, some communicated time marker. But some comedians don't really care, or they're having a really good time and they just keep going and going and going. And I got so frustrated with that that I
yeah.
now, all my shows have a huge clock that counts up from 0. You can't miss it. And if you run the light, you know exactly how long you ran it for. If you're doing 10 minutes, let's say, and the clock says 13 minutes when you get off stage, I know, and you know that you went 3 minutes over.
Oh, that's
To
great.
me, like, I'm not the bad guy anymore. I'm not the bad cop. The clock is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well, and sometimes people just miss the light because they've got a very physical set and they're into it and
Exactly.
they're looking down and
Yeah.
back there waving a cell phone in the background. It's not going to get their attention.
Totally.
So,
Totally. And anybody who runs a light is going to blame it on that.
oh, sure.
For sure. Even though you know they saw it, they're going to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see the light." But
Yeah.
with the clock, that's not a problem. The funny problem with the clock is about twice a year, I forget to reset the clock between comics. And
No.
really, I should tell every once in a while, like after I do that for like 3 or 4 shows, I'll remind people, if for some reason the clock isn't reset, just do the math in your head. You know, the person before you has a 5-minute set, you're doing 10, just get off at 15, you know?
Oh,
But
you're asking so much.
I know it
These
is a
these
lot to
doing
ask.
math and
And then they
remembering your
look at me
set.
like
Wow.
I'm from planet Mars or something. And so then I'll just be like, just don't worry about it. I'll reset the clock. And then I do fine for like say just like one, because I'm hosting and producing most of my shows. And so there's a lot going on. And sometimes I just forget to reset the clock. And
Absolutely. Yeah. That hosting and producing is a lot. I have decided to not do time on any of my shows unless I've got somebody else really helping with producing and hosting because I can't also prepare for the set. Well, and
right.
that's another thing you asked what I've learned. The other thing I've really learned with producing is go ahead and ask for help. Pay it. There's so many people in the background of the comedy scene. I've got somebody, Sage DeLong, makes a lot of the posters for me and sets up the Eventbrite. Andrew Gustafson used to run production for his dad's church when he was a teenager. So he's great at actually getting the show going and
Mm-hmm.
leaning into that help and leaning into that particular talent is just with everybody doing it, it gets the show going. And then I'm not freaking out and stressed and I can focus on making sure everybody's just having a fun time. I
Right.
mean, stand-up comedy is just everybody getting in the room together and trying to laugh as much as possible. So if
Yeah.
we can do that, bring me help and we will
Yeah.
get
How long
there.
is a typical show for you?
How long? Like one show? I try to keep it less than 90 minutes. I like
Perfect.
to shoot for 80, and then if it goes over, we're good.
Yep.
I've had some fantastic comedians come down, and I see that 90-minute marks comes along and people just
Yeah. That's a
glaze
lot.
over.
Yeah.
They're
I
just
do really, I
tired.
wonder, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but like 5, 10 years from now, do you think comedy shows will be shorter?
I think we will all be doing 30-second sets and we'll just rotate around. Somebody will tell 3 jokes, another person will tell, and we'll just, yeah,
What a nightmare. Oh, please
attention
let us
span
not
is
get there.
dead. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, and
that's
I'm
so
in a
funny.
college town and school's out right now, but um, I've, I, we've had trouble getting college students to laugh at us because they get in this position with these dead eyes like they're in class, and we have to
Yeah.
remind them that they're not in class and they can participate out loud um,
We got a
in the
comment from
show.
North Carolina here. Just give me the punchline with no context. LOL. Yeah, speed it up. Come on. This is idiocracy now, I guess. That's crazy.
Right?
It's crazy. I honestly, I worry about that like 10 years from now, stand-up comedy won't be a thing. Because what's going to happen, like I do best, like my best shows, I'm getting better with younger audiences, but my best shows are with older audiences. When I say older, I mean like, I don't know, 40 to 65.
Great.
And those people are aging out. 10 years from now, they'll be 50 to 75. The 75-year-olds aren't driving somewhere and going to a comedy club, probably. Who knows?
So
Or to a bar.
it's
In my case, it would be like a bar to see a show or a small theater. So
well,
I just
you'll be
wonder.
older too, Mark. Like
Yeah,
just
well, yes,
go to the retirement homes.
trust me, I've done retirement home shows. And actually, if anybody watching this is curious about that, I had a whole episode about retirement homes. You can find it in the catalog with another comedian who does retirement homes. I think they don't call them I forget what they call it. I guess they call them retirement homes, not old people homes, or I don't know.
Assisted living.
There's some
Yeah, there's all
special
sorts of,
language around it
but
now.
you'll be old too by then. That
Yeah, I mean, there's a comedian in Denver scene, incredible comedian, he's got to be 75, maybe pushing 80 at this point, and he is hilarious, so funny. So I feel like I got another 20, 30 years easy
yeah.
before I lose steam. But I do think that the audience is going to age out, and the attention span of these younger people. I mean, not to make this like some generational bashing
Oh, I
thing.
mean, I do a lot of work with 20 somethings because I work a lot with the Virginia Tech comedy conglomerate. So it is different.
Yeah.
The words that they use are different. The length of content,
Hmm.
what's okay culturally is
Yeah.
different. And I think that's the thing with comedy, though. I don't think comedy could ever end. I think it's a very dynamic art that's keeping up with how society goes. And I think it'll change. I think it'll look completely different than what we're doing right now. But
That that
I
is a
think
good point.
it'll,
Sometimes I'll listen to specials from like 30 years, or maybe, I don't know. I guess it's 50 years now ago, like from the 1970s. And
mhm,
it's just like, I'm like, this isn't funny. Why did anybody ever think this was funny? Like,
right.
and these are like legendary comedians. And it's
Yeah.
just, it does, the times do change, and you do have to kind of keep up with what people think is funny.
Yeah, and how media shares the content. Like I was just watching, I think it was Andrew Dice Clay, on an old show where people would say the jokes along
Yeah,
with
yeah.
him.
Hickory Dickory
Like,
Dock.
wow, what a different world. Because we're all very focused on don't show your jokes to the public because they need to see them live for the first time. And once you've
Well, I think
recorded
that's
it, it's
over.
dead.
I
Whereas
mean,
Andrew Dice
that's the
Clay
way I
was,
feel about my
yeah,
like, I'm trying to be the comedian that nobody can find online, and you got to see me in person. But who knows? That's like a relic. I might as well go to the old person's home with that philosophy. But
you,
young people, like younger comedians, and even a little older but pretty well established, people with late night credits, they're doing jokes that people have seen before.
yeah.
Sometimes I've definitely seen that, and they're publishing their act in real time, basically.
Well, and there's a ton of crowd work online. If
Hmm.
you're on Facebook or Instagram, a lot of the videos you're posting up are crowd work posts, which are not your content. It's just showing that you're witty And that's something that's very divided. Somebody can be really good at crowd work and have great online videos, and then in real life, they're not very funny, and vice versa. Some people aren't good on their feet, but they are very good writers.
Yeah.
And so they come in with these jokes that are just, oh, they're just amazing. But if they're not going to put them up online, people won't find out about it. I think it's very interesting that you're not on social media. Tell me more about that choice, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I will say that what I usually tell people when people ask me that is I immediately jump to how divisive it is in the Denver comedy community. Like a lot of everybody has an opinion who knows that I'm not on social media. It's either one, he's crazy, he's never going to make it anywhere, you have to be on social media to do it, or two, that's the reason Mark is so happy.
I will give you that. Oh my gosh. It is part of this job that I don't like.
Yeah. So I'll say this. A lot of times I'll go to the big comedy club in Denver's Comedy Works, and we'll go hang out there on the open mic night. We call it New Talent Night. It's Tuesday nights. And I can't tell you how many times I've walked into a conversation and it's about social media and it's never positive. It's always something like a comedian saying, like, I hear this regularly. I'll hear somebody say, yeah, I got so sick of Instagram, I actually delete it from my phone and I install it for like 10 minutes a day to check my messages and then delete it again. And like people are sick of, and I honestly, like, I'm not going to, I will say I enjoy it. Is it Schadenfreude? I don't know, but I enjoy hearing those stories because I have no idea what they're talking about. I don't understand why it's miserable, but I do hear people say, like, look, I put out this great joke and it didn't get as many likes as this terrible joke that I put out because I got to constantly put out stuff. And so, I mean, it is what I always say is I'll get on social media when I can obviously see it's hurting my career. Like if I'm headlining bigger comedy clubs, probably those comedy clubs are checking social media accounts and they're going to say no. And maybe I'll have a manager at that point and the manager will communicate to me, or maybe I'll never be able to get a manager. Maybe just no manager will want to touch me and I'll say, no, we won't manage you because you have 0 Instagram followers. We need you to have 10,000 or more, or 100,000 or more, or whatever.
Or maybe you'll get a manager that will grow that for you and you won't ever have to touch it. And you'll live this dream life that we all wish.
It's not too far away. Once I can make enough money with comedy, I'll just pay somebody to do it for me.
Yeah.
And I'll never have to be on it, which will be great. I'm also kind of like a contrarian and a weird person in that way. Like I always gravitate to doing things a little differently than other people. And so I think I don't know, I'd have to talk to a therapist about this, but for some reason I like doing things a different way. And it does feel very different to be a comedian and not be on social media.
Yeah. Well, I think lots of comedians are contrarians. And I think that fighting against the norm is part of the reason we stay creative and we get somewhere and that we're interesting to other people.
Also, there is some like logical rationale to my approach. And part of it comes from being older and having experience with older technology. When I was a child, there was this thing called Betamax videotapes, and they were everything. They were the rage. And then they went out of business and VHS tapes took over. And then VHS tapes went out of business and maybe there was some laser disc in there, but then it went to DVDs and then it went to Blu-ray DVDs. So in my lifetime, I've just seen these technology, and there were landline phones and then there were cordless phones and then there were mobile phones and there was MySpace and then there was Facebook, and now Facebook is dumb and for old people. And now there's Instagram, and then maybe TikTok is the cool thing because Instagram's out and there's going to be something else. So like also I figure I don't need to push my comedy down people's throats at this point. You know, at some point, maybe I'm ready to. And when I am ready to, Instagram might not even be a thing.
Yeah.
Like it might not even be
that. So what's the point of learning it?
Yeah, that's kind of, I feel like I should spend it. Go ahead.
You just gave a big timeline of all those different things. The thing that stayed the same in all of that, which is something I keep trying to tap into, is word of mouth, getting your friends together, having a good experience, and then telling people about it. That is real, especially in a small town. I think even in cities, there's this like little net of information that people send. And so, yeah, posting stuff online is helpful. It's a way to get the word out to new people. But what I find really brings people in and keeps them is somebody has a great experience and then they go tell a few friends, or they're like, hey, next month we should do this. And the only thing they're really using the social media for is, when is Catherine's next show? Like,
Right.
they already know about the
Yeah.
show. They already want to come to the next show. When is Catherine's next show? And there's no newspaper or bulletin boards to put it up.
Yeah.
So that's what social media has become for us.
Yeah. And I really just I want to perform about 150 nights a year so I can
Hmm.
get better. And every
Yeah.
year I am getting better. And nothing's stopping me from performing 150 nights a year. Like I mean, I'm not like perfect. I can tell you vulnerably that a week from Wednesday, I will be in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I can't find a show to get on. And maybe if I
Hmm.
was on social media, I could. I don't know. But on Tuesday, I'm going to be, and I'll probably end up driving to Dallas and hanging out with college friends and having a good time. But it's not like I'm always able to do everything I want to do. But for now, like on this upcoming run, I'm headlining in Arkansas. I'm doing a show in Chattanooga, headlining in Virginia, headlining in North Carolina, doing a show in New Orleans. I'm at Dallas Comedy Club after that. Like I'm getting around and I'm getting my reps,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's more for me to improve my game, and I also one last thought on it. You really opened up a can of worms asking me that, because I could talk your face off. But I hang out with a lot of comedians who've been doing this 15, 20 years, have a couple late night credits because they come out and do my shows in Colorado. And they're very frustrated at that high level they have reached 10,000, 50,000, 100,000
Hmm.
followers,
Hmm.
but it doesn't translate to butts and seats. And
Right.
really, that seems to be the whole point is,
Right.
maybe part of it is to get booked at places, but that seems fishy because you can buy followers. Nobody really knows, do you really have all those
Yeah.
followers? Who knows? But what you really want is people to come to your shows. And so for me, I'm happy if I work a 75 person room and 45 people come out. That's fun. I don't need to,
Yeah.
and there's less stress. Like these people, they're working 100 to 1,000 seaters, and they're not selling them out, and their managers are yelling at them, and the clubs are yelling at them, and they're like, look, I posted on social, I have 100,000 followers, but the people, it doesn't necessarily translate into people coming out. But if I
Right.
go to a tiny town, like you mentioned a bowling alley earlier, there's a bowling alley venue I've done a couple times up in North Dakota, Beulah. Shout out to Beulah, North Dakota. And so if I keep going back to these small towns, you kind of like, people remember you. Oh yeah, he's the
They
guy from
do.
Denver. Because who
Oh,
who
for
goes
sure.
to Beulah from Denver? Nobody's crazy enough, but that Happy Mark guy.
Right. They do remember, and they come back and they bring their friends next
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
So let's
That
talk.
part's
Let me.
fun.
I want to make sure we talk more about you. Tell me about.
Oh,
So you perform as well. What are you working on? What's exciting to you? What are you trying to get? What's something you'd like to accomplish this year or next year as a comedian?
well, I was really inspired by a good friend of mine. Recently, he finally put together his 1 hour set and filmed it. Unfortunately, the recording didn't record, so he's going to have to do it again. But just listening to him go through the process, it's like really setting aside some time to put stuff together. I feel like I'm always just throwing together sets with stuff that I've come up with, and um, I really enjoyed watching his process there. And I think I've got 30 minutes of good material. And so I was going to do half of his goal, try to get a good 30 together. Also, I just agreed to do a clean show at a church, which,
Ooh,
you don't know my material, but most of it revolves around buttholes. Like,
okay.
no matter what I try, it all comes back to that.
It's
So I'm
hard.
trying to get a little cleaner.
The
It's
church stuff is hard. Like a lot of people don't realize that there's a spectrum of clean. On one end is church, and maybe a little bit past that would be like dry bar clean, extra
Yeah.
clean. But then away from church, you got, you PG-13 can sometimes be clean, and late night television. I think you can even say SHIT on late night TV now.
Yeah, I can
And
do that level. I can do that.
yeah,
A lot of
but
my
churches,
jokes are about being a woman.
yeah,
And now I'm starting to go into menopause type stuff, which is an experience all in itself. And so it's really fun to my favorite thing right now, you asked about goals, but I'll tell you what I'm really enjoying right
right.
now is telling jokes about my body changing and then making eye contact with women in the crowd who were like, oh my gosh, me too. And they just, that connection and
Yeah.
then the ability to laugh at this like horrible stuff that we're going through. That's so fun for me. So I guess I want to keep doing that stuff. But the clean comedy challenge is really interesting because you really have to elevate to be clean. You have to think, you have to be more observant of your life. You have to be more observant of mundane things that can be absurd. It's easy. It's
Well,
so easy to do
it's so
dirty
funny because
comedy.
I always think of myself as clean, but then I like I have a joke about the garlic press. But like a big part of the joke is that it's for people who are into S&M in the kitchen because they're just like destroying garlic with like unique devices. And you can't talk about S&M in a church, you know?
No,
So that's not really it's like a 2-minute bit, but like the biggest laugh is usually on the S&M line. And I like when I look at my material more closely, you know, maybe I have a long, clean joke, but it involves drinking. And that's fine at most clean shows, but maybe at a church, they might not want you to talk about drinking.
no, yeah.
So
Yeah, my
it's
closer is about 4 minutes of me doing a parody jerk off instruction on household chores, which and it's totally clean. Like there's nothing dirty about what I say,
mhm.
but I say it with a sexy voice and there's tons of innuendo.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to do that at the church.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Not at a
it's
church, but you could potentially do it at a clean show.
yes,
Yeah.
probably.
Their
I've
level
also
is
been told I look like a librarian, which means I can do dirtier stuff and still get away with it. So
well,
thanks
that
for
is
that.
funny. Like I was just telling somebody the other day about an older comedian who just tells filthy sex jokes. Like it's an old lady. She's got to be 85.
Yeah,
And
that's funny.
it is funny. Like I couldn't tell those same jokes. I was kind of lamenting, like I'm in a weird age. We were talking about age earlier. I feel like I'm old, but I'm not old enough in some ways. Like if I
Yeah,
was
you're not crotchety.
exactly,
You don't need
I
a
almost want to put on
cane.
like makeup. You ever see those videos of like a basketball star will put on makeup to look old and like go out to the court and then like kick everybody's ass?
Yeah.
Like I need that. So I look like I'm like 85. I could have a whole different act.
You could do it. You could do it.
Uh,
There's a comedian in Tennessee, maybe you'll meet him, and that's kind of his shtick. He's preparing to be popular later. So his whole thing is being an old man now. It's
no way. Real How old is this
he's
person?
in his 60s probably.
Oh, okay. So he's pretending to be like 90, but he's
He's
60?
pretending to be like 80, but
Okay.
he feels like it'll probably take him 10 years to get popular. So he's starting now. It's
That's
fun.
funny. That
It's
was my idea, basically, my
there
blueprint.
you go.
No,
Now
somebody's
you
doing it.
can't use it because now you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You're West Coast. You can use it.
Maybe.
There's
We'll see.
the
I don't really want to
divide.
use it. I want to be funny as I am. The whole trick, if anybody's curious, if you're older and you're watching this and you got a bunch of like a bunch of 20-year-olds, like the second you walk on stage, they immediately don't like you and don't want to listen to you. So like, what I've learned is up top, you either got to attack them, be like confrontational, like I'm not scared of you, you know, Bernie Mac
Yeah.
style, or extra self-deprecating about your age. You know, like sometimes I'll just get up there and say, "Look, I know I look like the stepdad you never liked." You know, something along those lines, and just like address the fact that, hey, I'm twice your age, you know, or
Yeah.
more than twice your age. But I do have some things that we can talk about, and you kind of got to curate your material. Can't tell Betamax tape jokes to 20-year-olds. Can't talk
No.
about rotary phone dialing.
You might
Maybe
be
they've seen it
able.
on a TikTok
I
meme.
think if you talk about Betamax, but in brain rot talk, Like that's a level
Yeah,
10 beta
well, that's
max.
true. If you explain to them what it is in a funny way, you can talk about
Yeah.
anything. That is true. We got a question from
Yeah.
online. We're running out of time, so let's jump right to it. Catherine, is there anything you notice when entering a room the show is going to be great or awful? That's a great question.
Yeah, if people, it's going to be great if people are already buzzing and they're having a hard time not talking to each other but they have that like anticipation, like they're looking at the stage, but they're talking to each other and they're already laughing at each other's jokes. Like, oh, they've already prepped themselves. They're ready for this. If I walk in and the room is quiet, I'm like, oh no. Because then we
Yeah,
have to do all the work. We have to start them from zero.
yeah.
And that can be tough.
Do you play music before the show starts?
Yeah, there's usually music going. That's one where I lean on. The venue has sound system and all that stuff, so
Mhm.
I'm kind of leaning on them to do that.
I find that
But
that helps, like some fun music, upbeat, get
yeah,
people in a good
I
mood.
I don't do walk-up music. That's one thing I'm looking
I don't do
forward
that
to
either.
working on
Yeah.
next semester when the kids return, because we've got a new sound system with
Oh,
laptop,
cool.
and they want to do, and again, it's all evolving and changing. They want to do walk-up music and maybe have somebody in the background who could make comments during the open mic. So it's kind of like very dynamic and not, it's just a new format that they want to try. So I'm excited to see how that works. You were talking about age. I've been called the matriarch of Blacksburg comedy, which I really pushed against for a long time. But I am literally, some of the kids that I work with at Virginia Tech went to high school with my own actual biological children. So they already see me as a mom, but then I'm up there talking about dating and all that stuff. So it's very, that confusion. I kind of play off of that of like, wait, she's old, but she's going through some of the same stuff that we're going through. Wait, what? She's human? Nuh-uh. That's my mom's age. She dates? Ew.
Yeah,
It's
that's
kind of fun.
hilarious. All right, couple quick thoughts, and then we'll
Okay.
wrap this up. First, on that question, what makes a good room, bad room? Like things that I look for, like very high ceilings. Sometimes it's going to be bad, or the acoustics are bad, or the sound is bad, or the lighting is bad. That's all technical stuff. What Catherine said is very true. Most of my shows, I work the door. So I meet everybody as they're being sat or go into the venue. And usually I can tell if the show is going to be good. I'd say with 90% accuracy by the time the show starts, because I can just tell if people are in a good mood or a bad mood. Like if they're complaining
Yeah.
about where they sit, or they're just like crabby or feel entitled,
Yeah.
like usually a bad show. But if they're just like in a great mood and anything goes, and I have to sit with this stranger, that's fine. It's gonna be great. We're gonna make a new friend. You can really feel the energy or the vibe of a room. It
Yeah.
feels. So that puts a button on that question. I did want to tell you about something called Moms Unhinged. Have you heard of it?
Mm-mm.
It's a comedy group, I guess you'd call it. I think momsunhinged.com. You can find it. It's run by a woman in Boulder, Colorado, or like Westminster, somewhere close to Denver, Andrea Vall. There's a whole episode of Always Bookin Comedy, VAHL. You can watch the whole episode. We talk about Moms Unhinged. Incredibly successful. Incredibly successful. I go to a lot of the same towns they do, and they outsell me like 3-1 every time. They get all the
Yeah.
moms on the social media. They all come out. I see the pictures of the shows. If it's 200 people in a room, there's maybe 4 guys in the room. And you were talking about how fun it is for you to be in front of a bunch of women and talking about things that are important to you. Like
Yeah.
the energy, I'm sure the energy is bonkers in those rooms. So
Yeah.
check that
I
out.
I love doing all women shows. What I found is when I do all women shows, the women bring their partners along or they bring a big group of girlfriends out. It is a different energy.
Yeah.
Whereas you could tell sometimes when there's a male headliner, you could tell the boyfriend or the husband wanted to go and the wife is just there because she has to.
Yeah,
And so
what's crazy
it's a
about
different
that, I
energy.
learned in comedy, is women typically drive, like in a regular heterosexual relationship, the woman is the planner more
Right.
often than not, and is the one that's buying the comedy tickets. I didn't
Yeah.
realize this. There are some comedy producers that, like, when they buy Facebook ads, they only advertise to females because
Well, That's a good idea. Yeah, I would say that most of the people that actually purchase the tickets are female. From my experience with the shows that I have on Eventbrite, I could actually go through. That would be an interesting little thing to do with my little mailing list, is to see how many are
Nice.
female.
Yeah.
I
Okay, so we're gonna
definitely
wrap this
think
up.
that's true. But
Katherine
again,
Rogue from
huh?
Blacksburg, Virginia. How can people see you perform, and how do they go find your shows, etc.?
Social media,
Okay.
or come
Where is it?
talk to me, or
What is
come
it?
look at my calendar on the wall.
What's your social media? Start it
I'm
all out.
on Instagram. I'm Katherine Rogue Comedy.
Okay.
Same for Facebook. If you want to email me instead, you can do katherine.rogue.comedy@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, just look for me. If you're in Blacksburg or anywhere in Southern Virginia, please get in touch with me, because there's so many people who just want to watch live comedy. They don't know it's happening. It's because
Uh-huh.
it's hard to get the word out. So yeah,
Cool.
I will hook you up with some live comedy.
Awesome. Awesome. Katherine, this was a very fun conversation for me. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And I can't wait to meet you in person in like 10 days or something like that. It's gonna be
Yeah, I'm
super fun.
so glad you're coming. This is
Stick
you
around
asked
for a
about
minute.
comedy wins. Having you come is going to be so great.
Awesome. Stick around for a second. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you next
Bye.
Monday. Next Monday, I don't even know. Next Monday, I'll be in like Atlanta, probably doing this from my car. I don't know how it's going to work. I forget who we have, but we'll have fun doing it. All right, everybody. Have a great week.